everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Jimmy and this is Patriot's Glow. And in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and go over how to make one of these patriotic stars right here with just one fence picket. Now, if you don't have some of the tools that I have in this video or some of the means to get around some of these tools, I am going to give you some alternatives at the end of this video so that you can do this with maybe another $1.50 added on top of a fence picket as well. So stick around and let's get to making these patriotic stars.
Yeah, our nation split, red and blue collide. But mess with us, you'll see our unified pride. We might argue and fight, but we unite for the cause. When it's time to defend, we're the ones who don't pause. From the mountains to the shore, we're ready for a clash. Every American's back and no time to be bashed. When the call comes in, we rise, no delay. City streets to the wild, we're built to slay. So we're divided, don't you make a mistake. Mess with the USA, you'll feel the quake. We got the power ready to ignite. With us, you'll face American might.
First things first, we're going to go ahead and come over here and cut your pallet into 3 boards. You're going to go ahead and make these 14-inch cuts. On my first build, I cut these at 12 inches, but I found out that that is not going to be long enough. So go ahead and cut this at 14 inches, maybe even 15 inches. You'll still have enough stock to do everything that we're going to want to do with making these 14 to 15 inches long. Now, I did use the dog ear portion right here so that that can go ahead and get hidden behind the back. Now, this is not absolutely necessary. It does make things a lot easier to be able to clean up these edges, but I did come over here and clean up all the edges of these boards. And then on these boards, I went ahead and ripped them down to 1.5 inches. You don't actually have to do this. You can go ahead and use painter's tape and then mark out your lines. And you're going to see why here in a minute that we actually went ahead and ripped these boards down to 1.5 inches. Like I said, you don't have to. All right, so once you get those ripped down or the painter's tape going ahead and blocking those into stripes, go ahead and come through and paint those red and white stripes coming down. They don't have to be red and white stripes. You can do this however you want. A burnt look with the red stripes. Make it your own however you want to. You're going to see a couple of different ways that I end up doing it. Do it however you'd like. Now, this is what I was talking about. I ended up with 4 extra long pieces here, and you don't need all of these pieces. That's why those other 3 boards, you can cut to 14 inches, and you would have plenty of space. Now, before I get to those strips, we're going to go ahead and come through and make these alternating red, white, you know, exactly how the American flag goes all the way down. After you have all of these alternating, or however you end up setting this up, you are going to go ahead and come back through, flip them all on their sides, put wood glue on one side of these, and you're going to come through, clamp these together. And this is going to go ahead and make you one panel for the backside of what we're actually doing here, making those stars with a backer. So go ahead and flip these down and clamp these together. Be sure not to put too much pressure on them, obviously, because with all of these boards, they might pop up, come loose. So go ahead and get those set off to the side. Now, what I go ahead and explain here is you will put a 36-degree cut on one side and measure 10 3/8 down from there and make another 36-degree cut. And we're actually going to go ahead and make 5 of those coming all the way across until we get our 5th piece. Now, while you're making these cuts, always remember to make sure that you end up cutting that end piece off first, because you want that to have an angled cut, and then move it on down and then make all your cuts from there. After all of your cuts are made and you have your 5 pieces in hand, you're going to go ahead and change your saw to 54 degrees. You are then going to set your stop block at 5.5 inches, and you're going to go ahead and make 5.5-inch cuts right there in the center of that. And you're going to go ahead and do that for all 5 of your pieces. and it's going to end up leaving you with two different halves. You're going to end up with a 5.5-inch length and a 4 3/4 inch length for the other piece. If you go ahead and stick around to the end of the video, I will go ahead and go into this more in depth and show you closer up so that you can get a clearer view of everything and how the measurements line up. So if there are any questions, you can see better at that time. From everything that you cut and after some trial and error, this is what you're going to be left with. You're going to have a star. I will do an explanation for how you get all of your cuts and making sure everything comes together to make the star. And you're going to end up having your backer right here. And I think we're going to next time go ahead and make this a little bit wider so that it goes across this entire back piece. It did not go all the way across this time, but we can go ahead and change it for the next time. And it won't actually affect this build here. So that's not a big deal. But right now, we're going to go ahead and come through and brad nail these, glue and brad nail these together. So tell me why when I was showing you guys that I did not actually explain that you go ahead and butt up the two 30-degree angles with the long piece and the short piece. Those will alternate going back and forth for the small piece, large piece, small piece, large piece. I am going to go ahead and put the inside of the star, tack all of those together first, and then I'm going to go ahead and tack the rest of the star together after that. It's going to be much easier than to try to go ahead and tack that on outside of that. As you can tell, once those two pieces are put together, you can start slowly putting this together, long piece to short piece. And I'll go ahead and show another close-up of that as well, because I want to make sure that while doing this, that it is fully explained so that there is no actual confusion, because there's no point in watching it if you're not going to actually know how to do it at the end of the day, and you're going to have to do a bunch of trial and error yourself. If at any time throughout this video that you do have a question, please go ahead and ask the question down in the comment box below. I will try to answer your question as soon as possible. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't hurt. But let's go ahead and get back to talking about this build. Now, depending on how you want these stars and stripes to go ahead and be, go ahead and flip that star on that stripe pattern to get the stripe pattern that you desire for your build. And go ahead and mark that out with a pencil. And you're going to go ahead and come through with a jigsaw or any type of saw that you have available to you. And you're going to go ahead and cut that star out. Now, I recommend wherever you actually ended up stenciling that star, that you go ahead and cut inside that line so that it's slightly inside and not actually slightly outside of that, so you don't have to go back and trim anything up. It's okay to have it slightly inside, but it looks pretty ugly if you put it on the outside. So if you want the piece to match me, then go ahead and put it on the outside. If you want it to match you, put it on the inside. Now, you would believe that with my expertise, that no matter which way the star went on here, that it would fit up perfectly. But it actually does matter which direction you have that. So I was just fitting it back up to make sure I was putting it on the right direction. So I'm going to go ahead and come through with some True Black. This is by Behr, and I really like it. I believe Minwax makes another True Black just like this, but I do like Behr a lot. So I end up using Behr stains for a lot of my projects, but Minwax works as well. So after I did the first fit up, I actually flipped this about 30 times. You just don't end up seeing me do it on camera. I come through, glue up everything, and then flip this upside down. And then I tack everything from the back side, get everything tacked in, throw a few different nails into the back of this. So the side of this backer is what I was talking about. Make sure that it is inside or exactly flush and not on the outside. I am going to go ahead and come back through with some more stain and paint the side of this black as well. I want the entire frame of this to be black. Okay, there I was editing this video last night, and while I was doing that, I found out that the explanation for how I got these cuts was not the best, or I could not actually do the explanation in the video to the best of my ability, and I wanted to make sure you guys fully understood what we were actually doing. So I am going to come back through and do this one more time for you guys so that we can make sure that while we're doing this, we don't make any mistakes, okay? We're going to set up our first board here, and we're just going to go ahead and cut an end piece off of that. That first piece that you cut is going to be cut at 36 degrees. From the longest point, we're going to measure out 10 inches and 3/8. This right here is where your cut is going to start, going in this direction with a 36-degree angle. Same direction as this angle here. Just stop. Okay, so I do not know how I missed it, but you have got to put a stop block here. You need these to be repeatable cuts. And we're going to go ahead and make this first cut without the stop block. And then after that, I think the realization set in, and then here we go. All right, because I am crazy, I did not set my stop block up. Come on, guy. Holy cow, you guys have an earthquake going on over there. All right. Let's make sure. Okay, we're going to be good. That is where our stop block's going to be set up. So you guys have already seen this once, so we will make it super duper quick. Go ahead and cut yourself 5 of these off. Make sure all of your end pieces have that 36-degree cut on them. Let's go. Okay, so the next portion here, after all 5 of your pieces are cut, you're going to make another measurement here. And it's going to be 5 3/4 inches. You're going to go ahead and mark that on your top side right here. Now, that's going to be from your long point right here, 5 3/4. Now, that should leave right here. Let's make sure it's in the video. That should leave right here 4.5 inches from that center portion, or that marking right there, to the end of that board. All right, from there, you're going to go ahead and move your saw to 54 degrees. Once you're set at 54 degrees, go ahead and line that cut up. What you can also do to double check is grab a square and mark that out at 54 degrees right here. so that we know that these are all going to be cut at the same length, because I think that is the most important part here. Obviously, being cut the correct length is important. Them being all the same length is equally as important. All right, go ahead and be careful. Make sure your fingers stay out of the way, and go ahead and make your cuts. After all of your cuts are done, you will have a set of larger pieces and smaller pieces. This is what you should have left over. It should measure out to 6 inches and 4.5 inches. And that will give you your star setup. All right, back to the rest of the video. Okay, so I was going to tell you that this had to be paired with a long, a short, long, short, going all the way around. That is not the case. So what we do have here is we have a long piece, short, another short, long, short, long, long, short, long, and short. It's a star. Make sure that your angles line up correctly to make a star. The way that we have these is it goes short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. So as long as you make sure that you go ahead and get all of the correct angles, as long as your stars look like stars, man, put it together how you need to. All right, guys, so there you have it. A super simple, easy build. One fence picket, and you can easily get this build. You can change these measurements slightly. You actually end up having a little bit of scrap left over, a couple of strips left, and obviously some of that board, some of that backer left as well. And there are other ideas, and I will link one of them right here. If you make that backer big enough that when you cut your stars out, you can actually make 2 projects out of 1. That is something that you can very well go ahead and do. And I think it would be, a lot of different resources getting used up at one time. So something I wanted to go over, if you don't have a table saw to do some of these strips, cutting these strips down, you can go out and buy furring strips so that you can cut these angles and make this trim right here. You don't have to cut these down. Furring strips, you can get a pack of them for super cheap and knock out a bunch of these stars if you're going to go ahead and sell them, or if you're just going to go ahead and decorate your own home, you only need to buy 1 or 2 of them, and that will keep it really super simple and cheap. So 1 fence picket and a couple of furring strips, and you're good to go. And if you do it that way, 1 fence picket and a couple of furring strips, you can knock out probably 2 of these as well. So if you guys liked what you've seen, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit that like button. Leave me a comment. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.